Hey guys, now the UK has got its own drone laws in 2021. It's now against the law to fly a drone or a model aircraft without having the appropriate ID. I'm going to be showing you today how to register, which websites to use, and does the Mavic Mini 1 or Mini 2 actually need those registration IDs. So what you want to do is head over to Google, type in drone registration UK, and the top link is the official CAA website. You don't want to pick on any other. If people try and sell you, use theirs, they'll do it all for you. You can do it simply yourself. I'll post the link in the description, but this is the official Civilian Aviation Authority website. This is a government website. So when you're on this website, you can get both the flyer ID and the registration ID on here at the same time. So I'm going to be talking predominantly today about the Mini 2 and the Mavic Mini 1, with those drones being under 250 grams. So on this website, as I said, you can get both of those IDs at the same time, but do you need to get both of them? And I'll be giving you my thoughts on that as well during this video. So do you need to register your drone? If your drone is a toy, 250 grams or less, and it doesn't have a camera, or it's 250 grams with no camera and no class mark, then you do not need to register it. But if you have a DJI Mini 2, a Mavic Mini 1, a Spark, a Air 2, Mavic series, they all need to be registered, and they all have their own categories. So from these laws, all drones that now come out in the UK will have its own class mark identification stamp within the drone to make it more simpler to determine what class of drone you actually have. But if you've got one of the older drones, even the Mini 2, that doesn't have the class mark on it yet, because this only has come in from January 2021. So I'm going to be explaining which category the Mini 2 and Mini 1 actually is. With the DJI Mini 1 and Mini 2 not being a toy, but it's also not over 250 grams, that puts it into the category of below 250 grams, not a toy with a camera, which means legally it needs an operator ID to be able to fly it, and that's what costs £9 for the year. Any other drone over 250 grams, like the Air, the Mavic Pro series, the Spark, will need both a flyer ID and an operator ID to legally be able to fly. It's also of note that now with these new restrictions, any drone over 250 grams has a lot more restrictions, which we'll get to and touch on at the end of the video. So the DJI Mini 1 and 2 is now the C0 category, which means it's not a toy with a camera, and this is what the identification marks will be on the drone. If your drone is over 250 grams, it will then have different categories relating to it, either C1, C2, C3, etc. So therefore each class mark will have more restrictions than others, and you need to follow the class mark for your actual drone. If your drone is heavier and it's more than 1 gram, so it's over 250 grams, you're going to have to then put it into the next category. It will no longer be C0. So the prices of this new registration is £9 for the operator ID, which lasts for 1 year, and you've got the flyer ID, which is free, and it lasts for 5 years. So moving on to that flyer ID. As we've seen, legally you do not need a flyer ID for that DJI Mini 1 or 2, but I would recommend you go and do it. It's free, you can do it on this website, and it lasts you for 5 years. It involves doing an online test with 40 multiple choice questions. You have to get 30 or more to pass. You also get to look at the drone code whilst you're doing it, so you can refer to that. It'll take about half an hour, and if you're inactive for longer than an hour and a half, you have to do it again. But you can take this test as many times as you want. You might also learn something you didn't know before, and it just allows you to have that knowledge when flying, especially with the new restrictions on different types of drones. It's really worthwhile doing. I highly recommend doing it. So if you're going to go then to the registrar, you need to have your bank details with you to pay for that £9 for the operator ID, and then it's going to be based straight onto the multiple choice questions once you click on the start, and that flyer ID at the end then will be valid for 5 years. So definitely go and do it, guys. It's really worthwhile doing. So at this point now, you want to put your email address in, press continue, and then I'm not going to go through them, well legally I can't do, but then once you've done them 40 different questions, and at any time, as I've said before, you can refer to the drone code, which it also links when you're doing your theory test, and then from here every question it asks you is within this code. So have a look through this, answer it. You've got to get 30 or more. Once you've completed that test, you'll get registration complete indicator, and then you get a option then to print off your flyer ID, and it's really handy that to print it off in a credit card size, then you can just keep it with you in your wallet, and then you've got your flyer ID number. You also get it emailed to you as well. After you've done that, you need to pay for the operator ID, and this is what you need to actually be able to legally fly that drone now, regardless of the drone, as we said before. So this costs £9. You just press start again. If you put your email address in, it'll link the account which you've just done the last test on. Confirm that you're going to display the operator ID on your drone, and that you will only let people fly your drone with the appropriate authorization. Once you've done that, just click continue. That will take you to the next page. Just press continue again, and that will then ask you for your debit or credit card details, and then ask you if you have any insurance. Do you need insurance to fly a drone now? Well, that depends. You only need insurance if you fly in relation to a work, or if you get payment for it, or if your drone or model aircraft is 20 kilograms or more. So if you're flying DJI MINI 1, 2 or an Air or a Mavic and you're not receiving money, you're not using it for work, you do not need insurance. Don't let anybody make you buy insurance when you don't need it. So I'm going to be doing a full video comparing this and going a bit more into the restrictions, but I think this is going to have a big impact on the bigger drones, the 250 grams or more out there, especially in the UK. I know a lot of people now who are selling their Mavic Airs and the Pros and getting a Mini just because of those new restrictions on the bigger drones. You will find more and more Mini 2 owners now and less of the bigger drones. The drones such as the Mavic Air and the Pro are really good, the technology on them is amazing, but the new restrictions are going to hamper them so much within the UK. An example of this is you do not fly closer to people than 50 metres. This includes people in buildings, transport, cars, lorries, trains, boats, etc. And this is for any drone over 250 grams. The smaller drones, 250 or below, is the C0C1 class. It states here, if you're flying a drone or model aircraft less than 250, you can fly closer to people than 50 metres and you can fly over them. So the Mini 1 and 2, you can actually fly less than you could do before. And then moving on to this one now is you need to keep 150 metres away from any residential areas or recreation commercial areas. So if you've got a drone over 250 grams, such as the Mavic Air 2, you have to be 150 metres away from any residential area. So any houses, any built up cities, 150 metres away, unless, you guessed it, you have a drone or model aircraft below 250 grams, which is in that C0C1 class. That means then that you can then fly in residential, recreational and commercial industrial areas. So the Mini 2 can fly closer to people and in areas such as residential areas, whereas the other drones cannot. There is one thing you need to make sure you're following at all times, and that is always fly safe. So I hope you found that helpful. I would recommend going onto this website if you haven't done already and go and register for your operator ID and do the flyer ID at the same time. I know you don't legally have to for those two drones under 250 grams, but at 5 years of verification and the zero cost, 40 multiple choice questions, go out and do it. I'm going to post the link for it in the description below, and also I'll put it on this next slide. A video will be coming soon comparing the different drones and the restrictions and my thoughts going forward on the drone market in the UK. But I hope you found that helpful and useful. If you did, great if you can subscribe and like for more videos. Go and check out the old videos. We had some interesting ones recently. We returned to home issues and playing around in the snow. So go and check them out. I'll link them in the corners here, and we'll see you very soon. Thanks very much. Bye bye.